So, hello, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Rakshana Kinaumani, and today I'm going to talk to you about, as you can see in the screen, Mission Green. So, as for the contents, these are what you will be learning today in our presentation. So, the first question is, what is Sustainable Development Goals (SDG)? As you can see, the Sustainable Development Goals (SDGs), also known as the Global Goals, were adopted by the United Nations in 2015 as a universal call to action to end poverty, protect the planet, and ensure that by 2030 all people enjoy peace and prosperity. There are totally 17 goals prepared that act as a guideline for us to follow in order to achieve those goals. As in our campaign, there are three main goals, which is number 13, climate action, number 3, good health and well-being, and number 14, life below water. So, what do you understand about decarbonization? So, decarbonization is the reduction of carbon dioxide emissions through the use of low carbon power sources, achieving a lower output of greenhouse gases into the atmosphere. Decarbonization tends to refer to the process of reducing carbon intensity, lowering the amount of greenhouse gas emissions produced by the burning of fossil fuels. Generally, this involves decreasing CO2 output per unit of electricity generated. Reducing the amount of carbon dioxide occurring as a result of transport and power generation is essential to meet global temperature standards. So there are totally three examples which we can give you in this presentation. The number one is rapid farming and livestock. Farming in particular releases significant amounts of methane and nitrous oxide, the two most powerful greenhouse gases. Methane is produced by livestock during digestion due to enteric fermentation and is released via belches. It can also escape from stored manure and organic waste in landfills. So as for the second example, fossil burning. Fossil fuels are formed by decomposition of buried carbon-based organisms that died millions of years ago. They create carbon-rich deposits that are extracted and burned for energy. They are non-renewable and currently supply around 80% of the world's energy. They are also used to make plastic, steel, and a huge range of products. As for the third one is deforestation. Deforestation can result in more carbon dioxide being released into the atmosphere. That is because trees take in carbon dioxide from the air for photosynthesis and carbon is locked chemically in their wood. When trees are burned or chopped down, this carbon returns to the atmosphere as carbon dioxide and lessens the process of photosynthesis. So after that, I'm going to tell you about carbon footprint. The carbon footprint is the total amount of greenhouse gases, including carbon dioxide and methane, that are generated by our actions. The major contributors to carbon footprints are food, consumption, transportation, and household energy, which are majorly done by our humankind. Carbon footprint are measured based on pound of carbon produced per year. An ideal carbon footprint or a low footprint is anywhere from 6,000 to 15,999 pounds per year. 16,000 to 22,000 is considered average, and under 6,000 is considered very low. So, as carbon emission in Malaysia per year in measurements of tons. Carbon dioxide emissions per capita in Malaysia are equivalent to 8.68 tons per person based on a population of 30,684,654 in 2016, an increase by 0.42 over the figure of 8.26 carbon dioxide tons per person registered in 2015. This represents a change of 5.1% in carbon dioxide emissions per capita. So that's all from me, and I will give to our next presenter, which is Nagabarat.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Akshan. My name is Nagabal Subramaniam. I'm the second presenter for this campaign. So, without further delay, let's see the effect of carbon emission towards the living thing. There are three different living things. First one is human, second is marine life, third is animal. Before that, let's talk about climate change. Carbon dioxide is one of the components in the greenhouse gases. Greenhouses are responsible in absorbing and radiating back heat in all directions, including on Earth's surface. Without green gas, Earth can't maintain its temperature and eventually freeze at some point. However, excessive release of carbon have tripled since 1960 and keep rising to this day. Excessive heat are now observed in the lower atmosphere and radiated back to the Earth's surface, causing climate change. Carbon dioxide also responsible in maintaining acidity of ocean, which precisely at 8.2 carbon dioxide will fuse with the water molecule and producing carbonic acid. However, excessive fission of carbon since the Industrial Revolution have dropped the pH ocean to 8.1. These might seem small, but natural shift of ocean acidity take about 5,000 to 10,000 years. But ocean pH are shifted in just less than a century. This will cause a phenomenon called ocean acidification. As we talk about the effects of carbon emission towards living, the first living thing is human. Temperature of Earth has risen up to 0.08 Celsius per decade since 1880, but the rise temperature of Earth starting to double since 1981 up to 0.18 Celsius per decade, causing climate change speeding up. With, with the increase of heat waves, seasonal months are expected to change, which will make warm seasons longer than the cold seasons. Due to the stated effects, there are various diseases are expected to spread around the world. 19% of population are expected at risk of dengue due to extra climatically suitable month for malaria transmission. The length of dengue transmission season could increase by up to 4 additional months in tropical lowland areas in Southeast Asia, Sub-Saharan Africa, and the Indian subcontinent, and the disease may become more complicated in the cross central northern Europe and northern USA. For example, for now in Malaysia, as you see, there's a heavy raining in Terengganu and Kelantan, and and a lot of places are being flooded. It's because of it's one of the main reason for climate change. As for our second effect on marine life, acidification can affect many marine organisms, but especially those that build their shells skeletons from calcium carbonate, such as corals, oysters, clams, mussels, snails, and phytoplankton and zooplankton, the tiny plants and animals that form the base of the marine food web. These marine classifiers face two potential threats associated with the ocean acidification, which is their shells and skeletons may dissolve more readily as ocean pH decreases and seawater becomes more corrosive. And when CO2 dissolves in seawater, the water chemistry changes such as that fewer carbonate ions, the primary building blocks for shells and skeletons, are available for uptake by the marine organisms. As for the third effect is on animals. For example, polar bears are not classified as endangered at the present, but that doesn't mean their population aren't vulnerable. There are around 22,000 polar bears left in the wild, but man-made climate change and global warming are making life tough for these bears. With warming of with the warming of Arctic twice as fast as the global average will make the ice that polar bears depend on melting away. The polar bear primary prey is seals. Without the main predator population of seals will eventually peaking, threatening the amount of fish that act as livestock for several animals, including us. The Arctic provides fish for millions of people, including in the UK. As we talk about effects on carbon emission, let's talk about how to contribute to decarbonization as students. For example, first, walking or cycling. This might seem simple but give a huge impact reducing our carbon footprint. In addition, walking will greatly improve our health and give a chance for us to interact with community and feel the real world. For second, use laptop instead of desktop computers. If you know, laptops use up to 90% less energy than desktop computers. If you've been using a desktop computer to write your papers and to do research, consider making the switch. With a little research, you can find an inexpensive on that's more than adequate for your needs. For third, for third, as for the third, reduce waste by avoiding disposable. Instead of buying plastic water bottles or plastic water jugs, buy one good thermo and refill it with water, tea, or your favorite soup from the dining hall. If possible, also bring reusable bags so you won't have to use the disposable cutlery and straws provided at the dining hall. As for the fourth, forget fast fashions. We know you want to stay on the trend and within your budget, but fast fashion comes at high cost for the planet, including significant waste, use, and high shipping footprint. As much better option is to buy from sustainable brands or hit your local trash stores for quality, gentle used pieces. As for the conclusion, climate change is the main issue that should be focused on nowadays. There are several efforts that have been made by government and also the non-government bodies. However, the response is not as hyped as expected. You all have our we all have our responsibilities to end carbon emission on our planet along with the goals that have been set by the UN, which is achieving 45% free of carbon by 2030. Motivate yourself and people around you to fight together for a better sustainable planet. It is depend on you. Thank you so much for attending our campaign.